So recently, some disturbing allegations have come to light about the Altman family, particularly about Sam Altman, the current CEO of one of the most influential companies in the world. Annie Altman alleges in a newly filed lawsuit that between the years of 1997 and 2006, defendant in this case, Sam Altman, repeatedly and continually sexually assaulted, raped, sodomized, and battered her. Now, Ann Altman, who again is known as Annie, was born in 1994 to Jerry Altman and Connie Altman. Her oldest sibling is Samuel, who we know as Sam, and he was born in 1985. She also has two older brothers, Max and Jack. While the siblings were growing up, their mother was a dermatologist and their father a real estate broker. Now, Annie graduated from Tufts in 2015. She initially planned to go to med school, but instead she shifted gears and she got into yoga, seeing she's a prolific writer, and she also does comedy and performance art. She says these are choices her father supported, but her mother and siblings have dismissed as a phase. In November 2024, she celebrated the launch of her Humanity Grief Poems paperback. Annie also has a podcast called The Annie Altman Show, which was formerly known as True Shit. Annie was a self-described daddy's girl, sharing a deep bond with her father who supported Annie's decision to pursue creative passions over a traditional career. Now back to Sam. After graduating from high school, Sam went on to study computer science at Stanford. But after 2 years after school, he left without earning his degree, similar to other tech founders, and he went on to work on the mobile app Looped. As the CEO of Looped, he raised some $30 million in venture capital before he moved on to be the president of Y Combinator, which he was for about 5 or 6 years between 2014 to 2019. Sam, of course, is the current CEO of OpenAI. He has been the CEO of OpenAI since May 2019, and he co-founded the company with the likes of Elon Musk, Jennifer Livingston, Peter Thiel, and others who, all those folks, venture capitalists, have worked in the Silicon Valley tech industry for years. It was right in that cohort. He married his partner, Oliver Mulherin, in 2024 and is considered one of the technology world's most high-profile figures. Sam came out as gay to his parents when he was 16. In late 2022, OpenAI launched the ChatGPT generative AI chatbot, and since then, it's become widely used globally and, of course, is the most well-known AI tool in the world. I use it whenever you think about chatbots, that's the first one that comes up, usually ChatGPT. Still, in 2024, Sam was fired by the org's board, but rehired just a few days later, surviving an attempt at what looks like a boardroom coup. Former board member Helen Toner explained the board's rationale for firing Sam in November 2023. She stated that Sam had withheld information, for example, about the release of ChatGPT and his ownership of OpenAI startup fund. She also alleged that two executives at OpenAI had reported to the board psychological abuse from Sam and provided screenshots and documentation to support their claims. She said that many employees feared retaliation if they didn't support the CEO, and that when Sam was Loop's CEO, the management team asked twice to fire him for what they call deceptive and chaotic behavior. Wow. So currently backed by Microsoft, OpenAI was most recently valued at $157 billion. With funding coming from Thrive Capital, chipmaker Nvidia, SoftBank, and others. Sam even recently debuted on the Bloomberg Billionaires Index just in March 2024 and now has an estimated net worth of $2 billion. So in this lawsuit filed on January 6, 2025 in the U.S. District Court in the Eastern District of Missouri, Annie alleges that Sam sexually abused her throughout her childhood. In a Twitter post from 2021, she also claims her brother Jack abused her. These memories, she says, were repressed until 2020 when she went no contact with her family. Annie claims Sam abused her for 9 years in their family home outside St. Louis in Clayton, Missouri, starting in 1997 when she was 3 and he was 12. Between then and 2006, she alleges that Sam committed numerous acts of rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, molestation, sodomy, and battery, including when he was over 18 and no longer a minor. Annie also claims her brother groomed and manipulated her into believing the acts were her idea. Between 1997 to 1999, Annie alleges that Sam's acts of sexual abuse progressed from touching his penis and performing oral penetration on him several times a week to digital penetration of her vagina and anus, and also at times Sam would forcibly perform oral sex on her. Annie alleges that starting in 1999 to 2000, Sam would regularly penetrate her with his penis both vaginally and anally, and that these acts of rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, molestation, sodomy, and battery would continue for the next 8 to 9 years, up until Sam was an adult. On January 7, 2025, Sam Altman, along with his siblings and mother, denied all allegations made by his sister in the lawsuit, saying, quote, "All of these claims are utterly untrue and causing immense pain to our entire family." Annie's mother and siblings released a full-length statement calling her accusations deeply hurtful and chalking them up to what they believe are mental health challenges. Before filing the suit, Annie says she faced severe financial hardship, health issues, and housing instability. With no family support, she turned to sex work to survive. According to Annie, after her father suddenly died, the financial support she had been receiving from him while she worked on creative endeavors stopped. While she was supposed to receive a portion of her father's 401k as noted in his will, her mother and brothers withheld this information and money from her for over a year after her father passed. In the beginning of 2020, Annie says she did 2 family therapy sessions. During one session, she sat in her therapist's office with Sam there in person holding his phone with their mother on FaceTime. Though Sam and her mother were both millionaires at the time, they agreed that Annie should financially support herself for her own well-being. The therapist was shocked and pushed the two to reconsider. They eventually agreed to help her short-term, but pulled their assistance early. Annie says with little to no money, she went no contact with her family and started an OnlyFans while applying for EBT and unemployment assistance. She writes on Medium that it wasn't until she went no contact at the behest of her therapist that she was flooded with memories of sexual abuse she had repressed. During this time, she also experienced extended episodes of chronic pain from PCOS and chronic Achilles injuries that made it so she could barely walk or carry heavy objects like grocery bags, let alone work a strenuous job. Annie says that around late 2020, while deep in pain and trying to heal, she turned to escorting. She remembers these days as hazes of PTSD flashbacks and recurring memories. She did yoga, grounding exercises, and physical therapy to manage her pain and trauma. According to Annie's lawyers, Sam allegedly groomed and gaslighted her despite the fact that Annie was under 5 years old when the abuse began. This is the first case that Annie has ever taken to court, having voiced her allegations in the past via social media. She's being represented by Ryan Mahoney, whose Illinois-based firm specializes in matters including sexual assault and harassment. Annie is filing the lawsuit under the Missouri Childhood Sexual Abuse Statute, which says that any action to recover damages from injury or illness caused by childhood sexual abuse in an action brought pursuant to this section shall be commenced within 10 years of the plaintiff attaining the age of 21 or within 3 years of the date the plaintiff discovers or reasonably should have discovered that the injury or illness was caused by the childhood sexual abuse, whichever occurs later. Annie is currently 30 years old, so she's within the time frame of the statute. Over the last 5 years, Annie says she's battled to overcome chronic health issues while facing financial hardship and isolation. The lawsuit specifically alleges that Annie has suffered great bodily injury, including but not limited to physical injuries associated with the harms committed, PTSD, severe emotional distress, mental anguish, and depression, which is expected to continue into the future as well as embarrassment and humiliation. The lawsuit states that Annie has incurred numerous medical bills and other health-related bills as a result of medical and mental health treatment for her injuries and is expected to incur the same in the future. It goes on to say she has lost wages and benefits she would have otherwise received but for the sexual assault by defendant, and may suffer such loss of wages and benefits in the future. More so, she has suffered a loss of enjoyment of a normal life as a consequence of her emotional injuries, and she has lost her ability to engage in the same kinds of normal activities, all to her damage. Annie publicly talks about dealing with mental, physical, and financial stress, which she believes resulted from the supposed trauma. She has given details about how this has affected her life, including her problems with intimacy. She wrote on Medium that she has projectile vomited multiple times during sex with men she loved and trusted. Annie maintains that none of the sexual contact with Sam was consensual. She says many people in his social and professional circles support her privately but are terrified to speak publicly on her behalf. Along with the denial from her family, Annie alleges that she has had podcast ratings deleted and YouTube views removed, her personal Wi-Fi repeatedly hacked, and search results about her shadow banned on Google. Doubters on social media have dismissed this case as a money grab by Annie. They see Sam as one of the most powerful people in the world, and Annie as the crazy sister, a sex worker with a messy story. However, Annie says the narrative of Annie is crazy and Annie doesn't know how to take care of herself is exactly the same sentiment she was raised and conditioned in, and is the type of manipulation Sam has used to control her whole life. I would even say that, as countless volumes of research has shown, there is a direct correlation between childhood sexual abuse and subsequent work as a sex worker. We see the stories all the time. So when naysayers dismiss Annie as just that, a sex worker, they unwittingly bolster her claims instead of actually diminishing them. Sam himself admits that it was hard for him growing up gay in the Midwest. While I don't believe this is the case at all for all young gay males who live in unaccepting societies, I wonder if Sam abused Annie as a means to prove to himself he wasn't gay, or as Annie has even alleged, to confirm his sexuality in a time and place where being publicly out was rare, especially for teenagers. Either way, Annie's allegations against her brother, who's the CEO of one of the top companies in the world, demands our attention as he gains more and more power, not only in the future of AI, but in the government. I'll leave the story at this with a quote from Annie herself. She says, "I am to give others the information of my story while healing my own pains. My wish is to help others find their personal truth and healing from their pains. We're all human. We all advance as humans. We all tell our story." Thanks for tuning in. For more true crime stories, subscribe to the channel. Until next time.